on TV3. We're live on 3FM 92.7, also on TV3 Ghana on Facebook, and DSTV channel 279 all across the world on 3news.com. And got this message says, at Harvard Business School, John Mahama indicated, whereas COVID-19 ravaged economies in Africa, in the specific case of Ghana, the 2020 election spending resulting in the 17% budget deficit is the cause. Council Agba should read the statement by John Mahama on air in full detail. And that is from lawyer Eduji Tamaklo to you, because of the specific statement that you made.
The bottom line is that Mr. Mahama conceded that COVID-19 and the Russian aggression have had a devastating impact on African economies. Ghana is in Africa.
Well, but then again, he also isolated the Ghana situation. That's just a fact.
Alfred, the projection that I made reference to, which you have confirmed, the details are immaterial. What is material? What is material?
It is material.
What I said relative to the projection is true. And what he said relative to the debt GDP is not true.
But I don't think you would actually be right, respectfully. I don't think you'll be right to say that the details of the reason for the projection is immaterial. It is very material. Because if you take the Fitch details...
I have cited a lot of economic data without going into the details.
But, Counsel, I make reference to the fact that the details of the Fitch... No, I'm coming. The details of the Fitch report, which you make reference to, specifically details the reasons why they are making the projection for the reduction in the debt to GDP rate of this country. And the specific reason they give is because of the 50% haircut by the Bank of Ghana that led to the 60 billion cedis loss.
Is that our debt to GDP ratio has been projected to decline, contrary to his assertion that it is over 100%. I am right and he's wrong, fundamentally. Now, all the three...
the present figure.
Okay.
98.7 is 100.
I have listened to all three.
Is 100.
And I'm not convinced that they have made a strong case against the Bawumia bid to lead the party. All of them have said one thing, that Bawumia said things that he couldn't fulfill. It's a red herring. You know why? In 2020, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia presented what he called the manifesto assessment of the New Patriotic Party in Kumasi, where he publicly declared that after examining the over 500 promises that the NPP made to the Ghanaian electorate, we delivered on 70% of those promises. Inherent in that declaration is an admission that over 30% of the things that we said we would do, we were unable to do them.
30%.
So it is not new to say that NPP said they would do A and they didn't do it. In any case, you cannot be objecting to a Bawumia leadership on grounds that he said A and didn't do A whilst canvassing support for Mahama. Mr. Mahama told us that we're going to have 40% representation of women in his government. It didn't happen. He told us that he was going to pass the Right to Information Bill. It didn't happen. He told us that he was going to build a strong and resilient economy. He told us he was going to deliver a strong and resilient economy anchored on energy for all. What we got was Doomso for all for 4 years. He told us that he was going to deliver an annual growth rate of 8% per annum. For 4 years, he was unable to deliver, even on one occasion, 8% of GDP. He told us that he was going to keep deficit under 5% for 4 years. For 4 years, he missed that target. He told us, interestingly, that he was going to set up a local radio stations in each district of our country to carry out proceedings of our assemblies. Throughout his tenure as president, he was unable to do that. In his own Gonjaland kingdom, he sat before the late Yogbonwura Bawadoshi and promised the people of the region of creating a savannah region. He repeated it again under the late Yogbonwura Boresa. For 8 years that he was at the Jubilee House, he was unable to do it. He promised the Ghanaian people,
the state of the energy sector in 2016?
He promised the Ghanaian people that every young, able-bodied person willing and ready to work would be afforded a job under a Mahama presidency. for more than 4 years that he served as president, it was only under his era that we had Unemployed Graduates Association. He told us that he was not going to make... He told us. Alfred, I'm coming.
No.
I'm coming.
Because you are going on and on, I just want to ask a specific question.
Yeah.
In 2016, you made reference to the Dumsor situation in 2015. Before the NDC exited power, what was the state of the energy sector?
The states were talking about what politicians have said and whether or not they were able to deliver.
Let's assume that whatever you have said
he said he was going to provide energy for all. For 4 years, we witnessed Dumsor for all.
So I'm only saying to you that in 2016, what was the state of the energy sector before the NDC exited?
In fact, as at January through to February 2017, we're still experiencing energy crisis, notwithstanding their declaration.
In this country?
Oh, yes, Google it.
What?
In this,
Google it.
we were experiencing energy crisis.
You are connected to the internet.
We were experiencing energy crisis.
In 2017.
In this country.
You are connected to the internet, and Joy FM reported it in 2017. Notwithstanding their public declarations that they had fixed the problem.
Country.
In this country. I say that you are connected to the internet.
No, Baumia said the energy crisis had been solved.
I am saying he's connected. When I made reference to things, he checked it.
You are saying in this country.
In this country,
in
when I made,
2017,
and in fact, and they issued a
energy crisis.
timetable to that effect, and you can check it. All right? He told us that he was not going to make excuses for corruption. He made excuses on corruption throughout his era as president. He told us
your best record of corruption is the worst that he got.
He told us
your best record of
that he was going to amend that he was going to amend
43.
Okay, gentlemen, hold on.
Then
hold on.
Also come up with a rebuttal.
Okay, I gave him the 3
I don't know why I listened to all of them calmly.
Yes.
All right?
Round up.
He told us that he was going to amend the Shrad law to empower Shira to investigate corruption without an explicit complainant. For more than 4 years that he served as president, he was unable to deliver that. So there's no politician in this country. Unfulfilled promises cannot qualify as basis to reject a presidential candidate. Otherwise, all those running for president in 2024 will not be eligible. So it is strange that whilst my senior Pebu will recount the things, and this is important distinction.
Okay, Abba, I just wanted to say this.
Speaking,
let's ask, because you have limited time, and I decided to, by discretion, give you the time for reason. Now, you've listed all the unfulfilled promises of John Mahama.
And I was going to make a very important distinction that you interrupted.
And granted that all of these things were said, that's the reason why the Ghanaian people voted him out of power in 2016. Yeah. So, are you saying that based on that same yardstick, all the unfulfilled promises of the Nana Akufo-Addo Bawumia administration, the Ghanaian people should also take the same decision, look at that, and go on the same path and vote you out of power?
That's the point I was coming to make, that you interrupted.
Fantastic.
The significant difference between Mr. Mahama and Dr. Bawumia is this. Whereas Dr. Bawumia, as running mate, was speaking on behalf of candidate Akufo-Addo and the NPP, President Mahama was speaking on his own behalf as presidential candidate. And he was vested with the humongous executive authority of the state. And for more than 4 years, he was unable to fulfill numerous of the promises that he made to us. Mr. Kevo recounts the things that Bawumia said as running mate on behalf of candidate Akufo-Addo. And on that strength, he says we should not vote for him. At the same time, he's campaigning for a man who, as presidential candidate, made promises that he was unable to fulfill after being entrusted with executive.
Thank you.
After being entrusted with executive authority.
Thank you. You see, in the end, after all of this is said and done, after all of this is said and done, the 5 seconds will not be enough for you to make
that goes to Professor Jampo. I think his argument on 80% to 90% victory that can guarantee a win in the presidential race is unscientific.
Okay, thank you.
It is not supported by any history or data.
You've made your position.
It is not.
Council Agba Yusuf. Thank you. No. I mean, in the end, look, it is the Ghanaian people, as Professor Ransford Jampo indicated, who will look at the state of affairs
would I have
and,
a
no,
rebuttal?
and where we find ourselves now
Why?
to make a decision. So, no.
Oh, no, you're not alone.
Yes, you have made your point.
Alfred,
And
just a second.
In a
just
minute,
a second. You see,
because you made reference to Professor Jampo, I just want to have
well,
just a quick one.
I will not even respond to that if he's not seen that before. It's up to him. But you see,
No, that's not.
I cannot sit here for you to tell me that unfulfilled promises should not be used as a basis.
Because there's
to,
no
can you
government-
please,
there's
please,
no government
please,
in the world that
please.
has
I didn't
delivered
like what you were
100%.
saying. I didn't like what you were saying, but I
thank
kept
you,
quiet,
sir.
please. I cannot sit here for you to tell me that unfulfilled promises should not be used as a basis to reject the candidature of anybody. That is unfair to Ghanaians. That is unfair to our quest to promote good governance. That is unfair to our quest to promote political accountability. Please, you can make this point when some of us are not part of the panel. I will not allow you to fester this bogus idea. And then also the idea of trying to resort to the bogus practice of politics of equalization. You know, it offends me. X was not doing well. And so Y gave us a lot of hope that it is going to do better. Then it comes, Y comes, performs abysmally, and then resort to the practice of equalizing and comparing. Please, if you want to grow tall and you compare yourself to the dwarf, then you are not interested in growing.
And in the competitive
Okay,
politics, you
Professor
compare.
Ransford Jampo, thank you. And that's the 1 minute on this matter.
Yes.
It rounds it all up.
Again,
Moving
you
to the
cannot-
next issue,
no, no,
Professor
again,
Jampo,
please,
Professor Jampo,
just a
Professor
second.
Jampo, Professor
Again,
Jampo, we need to move on.
again,
Professor
no,
Jampo,
no,
we need to
again,
move on. We need to move on. We need to
just one
we need to
point.
move on. We need to move on. I think that you have made your point. We need to move on to the next issue. And the flag bearer of the NDC, John Mahama, and I'm spending just
No, you don't need
some
to rebut.
few minutes on
You are
this,
speaking this-
on the 24-hour economy. Nelson Rossif Dafiamepo, you have not been admitted. Your counsel, you are breaking the rules on this platform. John Mahama indicated a 24-hour economy and during his engagement with the TUC. The details of it, we understand, is yet to be rolled out. But this is what he said to the TUC. We got a response from the TUC as well. Take a look.
During COVID, we recommended that at times where workers lose their jobs and are unemployed, it should be possible for there to be a scheme where part of their social security savings is paid to them as allowances until they can find another job. And we suggested it, but it fell on deaf ears. Don't sing again, I beg you. We intend to implement a 24-hour economy. And by this, we will provide incentives in terms of reduction in corporate taxes and other exemptions to businesses that will sign up to the 24-hour economy initiative. And if we remember, in the past, but then we must also look at the security side and make sure that we provide them with security. Because if you remember, in the past, filling stations used to work 24 hours. Unfortunately, armed robbers started attacking them, and because of that, they all closed at about 10 o'clock. And so if we're able to provide them with adequate security, businesses and services like that, there's no reason why they can't operate 24 hours. And we'll give them the tax incentives to be able to do so.
That's the flag bearer of the NDC, John Mahama, talking about the 24-hour economy as one of the solutions to solve the unemployment situation that we're dealing with, feasible or otherwise, because we are starting this conversation getting into the election year proper, because already the policies have started coming. Professor Ransford Jampo, as a labor person, being president of the UTAG UG branch, when you do an assessment of the current state of affairs and then also the situation or unemployment that we're faced with, will this 24-hour economy, based on your own analysis, make any significant impact?
Well, I think if measures and other details are provided, we'll be able to scrutinize it critically and talk about its feasibility. But the point is that, top of my head, I can talk about the fact that then productivity would be increased, because one of our challenges as a developing country is that we are not productive at all. We sleep too early. You want to go and grab a few things at the mall, and then by 8 p.m. they are closed. And you ask yourself, but how? You go to other people's country, they are running a shift system such that some of these important, areas that people could go, can go do business are always, running within, around the clock. Within 24 hours, they have shift system that keeps them running. And so I think that the idea of having a 24-hour economy is a good one. It's an audacious idea if it will be supported by the fine details. And like the moment I heard it, and I just heard him talking about the need to provide them with security. But the moment I heard a 24-hour economy thing, I was saying that then it means we have to beef up security, because people have to work in, at night. And then you have to then be recruiting so many people. Mr. President Mahama, with the greatest of respect, up till now, the University of Ghana and the public universities, people are dying. People are retiring. Government is not giving us the opportunity to recruit, to replace. We are not thinking about hiring new people, but government is not giving us opportunity to recruit and to replace. Yesterday, I taught a class of 1,087 students. 1,087 students. We are not even saying that let us, because we know you will tell us you don't have money. So we are not even saying recruit new lecturers. But those who are retiring and those who are dying, government is not allowing us to even recruit to replace. And so, President Mahama, if you need a 24-hour economy, it means, first of all, you must think about replacing lecturers. Those who have retired, you have to replace them. Those who have died, you have to replace them. And then, secondly, one person cannot teach 24 hours. It means you have to recruit more people to be able to break the numbers so that we have a cycle of 24-hour work and all that. So there are a lot of things that will have to go into it to make the idea feasible. And I'm looking forward to reading much of the details associated with this particular idea. But look, I'll tell you that for somebody to think this way, you ask yourself, right from independence, why haven't we been able to think like this? Okay? And I'm hoping that if he says 24-hour economy, he would go ahead to ensure that once he's elected, things are put in place to give meaning to that. We do not want a promise of dealing with the Goggisberg economy as promised by Akufo-Addo, and then you would come into power, and then you may be saying that 24-hour economy, and then you give excuses. President Mahama, some of us, when you come to power, if Ghanaians decide to give you the mandate again and you come, some of us will not keep quiet. We'll continue to subject you to strict proof. And so be circumspect in the kinds of things you tell us. Make sure that the kinds of things you throw. We are getting into that electioneering campaign season. And we would be monitoring the kinds of things that politicians will be telling us. Don't promise heaven knowing that you can't do all. Identify 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 interventions that you know you can do and do them well and focus there. Don't promise everything, knowing that you may not have even all the resources, you may not have even all the time to do that. That's my counsel to President Mahama. But I want to say that the idea of having a 24-hour economy is superb if it will be given meaning if you have the details and if it will be put into full force, then productivity would show up. No nation can talk about development. In fact, there can be no meaningful discussion on productivity without there can be no meaningful discussion of development without highlighting the role of increased productivity. And so if it is supposed to make all of us productive, we will be running shift, we will recruit more people to come and assist and all that, then it is good for us. But I plead that this laudable idea should be something that we would be willing to implement. President Mahama, you may, if they give you the chance, then you would have an opportunity to leave a legacy. Some of us are saying that President Akufo-Addo should leave a certain legacy for himself before he leaves. But leaves office, but it appears he's no longer even interested in leaving a legacy. If you are able to implement an idea of having a 24-hour economy, it will be a legacy that will outlive you.
So the other issue here, beyond what you have said, is about the measurement of productivity. And that has been always the element of assessment that, to many labor experts, is missing in the public sector reform structure. So at a point, we were told that government pretends to pay and public sector workers also pretend to be working. Now, if the concern about the lack of the measurement of the productivity of the public sector still exists, and then we're looking at other ways of adding on to the wage bill, which takes close to 60 to 70% of our entire revenue. And in fact, at a point as we speak, government is even borrowing to pay salaries. And according to the finance minister, the public sector payroll is full. So how do you then marry that concern of the lack of assessment of the productivity in the public sector plus this proposal of a 24-hour economy?
You see, that was why I said that we need the details, because the details should capture the fact that maybe we have an over-bloated public service. Maybe people are pretending to be working and we are pretending to be paying them. There are no benchmarks as to what people must do and how they can be assessed. When we get the detail, I mean, because you cannot put that superb idea on nothing. So we would need to interrogate the details. And I want to believe that before making such a promise, he should have he had undertaken a review on or the audit of our public service. And not only public service, but we're talking about 24-hour economy. We're talking also about the private sector and general atmosphere that creates continuous work just to ensure that productivity goes on. And so my view is that the devil should be in the details. Yeah. Let us see the details and interrogate the feasibility. But like I said, I don't believe that he said this without having thought through what it truly means to have a 24-hour economy. If it's thought through, let us have the details and let us interrogate to be sure that what is being promised can be done. And I've sounded a caution that Ghanaians are no longer going to be tolerant of promises that cannot be implemented. Ghanaians are no longer going to be tolerant of promises whose implementation merely amount to ticking the box. Policies that they tell you they have implemented, but they are not implemented well, they are not given the desired resources, they are not allowed to be implemented in a manner that ensures that they have the desired impact. We are not going to be ticking the boxes, saying that they say free SHS, say Maye, and they said this Maye, you are just ticking the boxes and they are not really affecting and impacting on the lives and the soul of people. We want policies whose implementation would really affect the lives of the people tangibly. And once again, I applaud the idea of a 24-hour economy. But we should have the details, and President Mahama must know that it's a laudable promise that, in my view, has touched the heart of many people. If he doesn't implement it, then we'll question him.
Well, the TUC Secretary General towed the same path about the importance of this policy. But Nelson Rossing,
Yes.
in the end, it's about the feasibility of this and who is going to lead this. Is it going to be a government-led policy or a private sector-led policy or a public-private sector collaboration to get this to happen, especially because of the current challenges that the public sector itself is faced with the increasing wage bill, which is a burden on government's own revenue generation, and then also the case of which we find ourselves in now as a result of this IMF conditionalities, where there's a conditional freeze on public sector employment for as long as the IMF program is in place. And the IMF program will be in place after 2024. Yes. So how are you going to deal with this?
Okay. The IMF is an institution that can always be engaged and terms renegotiated. But speaking to this policy, what His Excellency John Dramani Mahama has done is to simply promise a change in approach to doing things as a country. Mm-hmm. What does that mean? It means that when somebody is unwell at the dead of night in Tongochanakwe and he's taken to the health center, the security man won't say that there's no nurse on duty. Yeah. You understand what I'm saying? It means that when the registry of the University of Ghana cannot close after 5 p.m., there will be somebody that will be at post that students can go there and have services rendered to them. It means that we'll have, for instance, Saturday courts. Yes. It means that, for instance, we'll have Saturday courts. Yeah. The courts can sit on Saturdays and work. We are going to expand the frontier of delivering services to our people.
Court.
Saturday court. Saturday court for SNIT
for SNIT and
then bail.
But you're going to expand.
We are going to expand it.
It's all part
for
of the 24 hours.
Can the court sit after 4 p.m.? Why, for instance? Yeah. We have so many high court judges. Mm-hmm. Some are not even manning courts yet. So why is it that High Court Criminal Division 1, after sitting from 9 a.m. to about 2 p.m., another judge won't come and sit from, say, 3 p.m. to, say, 8 p.m.? Yeah. Why not?
Can the wage bill support this? I think
they are already on the wage bill.
The ability to pay.
Hold on. Mm-hmm. Let's put this matter methodically in context.
Okay.
I am saying there are high court judges who are already on the wage bill who are not manning courts. So this 24-hour economy approach will let them have the opportunity to sit at courts that have adjourned for the day. We should be able to have time to do extra work in the public service. That's exactly what His Excellency is saying. That when it is 5 p.m., it doesn't mean that DVLA cannot renew licenses for drivers. Why? Why shouldn't DVLA work after 5 p.m.? Why shouldn't DVLA work after 5 p.m.? Why shouldn't, for instance, construction firms work after 5 p.m.? We should be able to have road construction at dead of night when there's light on. In a lot of countries,
that's what they do.
Road construction is actually done at dead of night when there's less traffic on the road, so that by the morning the road is fixed.
Well, I see a lot of the Chinese.
Exactly. No, not a lot of Chinese. So the man is saying this is the approach. This is the approach.
Deliberately, they will be sprinkling water on your car.
They do it at night.
No, daytime. They are
yes, but I'm saying that this is what His Excellency John Dramani is saying. Industry. Unilever should be able to work after 5 p.m. That's what he's saying. You understand me? Nestle should be able to continue manufacturing into the dead of night, around the clock. He says services, tourism, companies, service.
There are companies that run night shifts.
There's no deliberate policy.
Let us not use exceptions to prove the rule.
Thank you. Okay. The man says that as a nation, we are going to have a change in approach. Commerce. Markets should not be closing after 5 p.m. People should still go to markets and transact businesses after 5 p.m. I've already spoken about the judiciary, the security services.
Right.
Policemen shouldn't be on sentry duty, and when it is 5 p.m., he's gone home. People should be able to continue to offer these services. So, in starting the conversation, I have cited a lot of growth pole projects that he initiated when he was in power or as the leader of the nation. Today, if you go to Terminal 3, Terminal 3 works around the clock. If you hadn't built Terminal 3, wouldn't be experiencing that. I agree that the nature of the airline business is such that flights can come in around the clock. But when you do so by a deliberate policy, the airlines will open additional routes.
So let me get the understanding. That's what they do. Are you saying that before Terminal 3, Terminal 2 wasn't running 24 hours?
Terminal, you can get to the airport and some services are closed. Why? I have worked in the industry.
Yes.
I have worked in the industry, so I understand how the airline industry works.
So you're saying that some functions would have been closed, but the core function of the airport,
it is not always running, my brother. There are parts of the airport that closes after 5 p.m. The people go home.
So the idea is to have a 24-hour all services on board.
All services by deliberate policy.
But it's not to say that previously it wasn't running
like
24 hours. I just wanted to distinguish
don't
that.
use the exception
To prove the wrong.
to prove the wrong.
There's no rule, actually.
Sorry?
There's no rule.
There's no rule. Let me continue by saying industry. For instance, G-Hawk shouldn't be closing after 5 p.m. You shouldn't have workers trooping to the house after 5 p.m. There should be another batch coming in. You understand? To work. So this is how we can quicken the pace of development in the country. For instance, ECG offices shouldn't be closing after 5 p.m. When people have problems at dead of night, they should be able to drive to the office that is operational. These are essential services. So I've given a lot of projects that is done. It's done the University of Ghana Medical Center.
So if I get the understanding, is there going to be an evaluation of the labor force to know those who are employed but underperforming or underproductive, and to also increase and deploy them to other productive areas?
Already, there's a system. There's a system.
Is that part of it?
Hold on. Already, there's a system of evaluating public servants. There's a system of evaluating the performance of public servants.
But we know that the underproductivity in the public sector is not disputed, isn't it?
No, it may be disputed that there's low productivity. But it's not saying that it's coming to change that. It says that I am coming to ensure that where the deliberate working hours says that after 5 p.m. everybody should go home, there should be another batch of people who should continue offering that service. That's what it's saying. Now let me add this. Somebody has asked that how are we going to assess this? I said there are already projects that are exhibiting those qualities, those characteristics. So it will be extended to all other sectors deliberately.
Right.
Deliberately.
Okay. And talk about one of the sectors that Nelson Rossington mentioned is the courts. As a lawyer, you know the workings of the court. Will that proposal, at least taking into consideration the reference to what happens in the court, as Nelson Dafempo said, work, that 24-hour approach, would it have any significant impact on how the courts work, as has been proposed by John Mahama?
Absolutely. Oh, that one there, absolutely. I can tell you that there are a number of, I was in Singapore, was it 2018 or so, and they have a system where you have a court case, the workers, especially the analysts, the junior workers, to ensure job security, he wants to be at work every day. So they have a system where he has a court case or she has a court case. She comes to court at 5 or 6 p.m. after work. It was beautiful. You can check in Singapore. I saw with my eyes. I was surprised. They said yes. So they make sure that workers can go to work, have full attention during the day, and go and deal with their court cases in the evening. Yeah, and apart from that, the US and other people, they've always had these systems, right? But Singapore, so every time we are quoting Lee Kuan Yew, those are some of the things Lee Kuan Yew Singapore does. that you go to court in the night after you've closed from work. Yes, so you secure your job, I can pay your lawyer, and then go to court in the night. So for me, with what I saw with my eyes in Singapore, I think that was 2018 that went there, I think so. Of course, because I prefer to mention the example of Singapore because at least we started with them. Yeah, Kwame Nkrumah's time, we're even better than them. And today, see how they are miles ahead. We, Singapore, Malaysia, South Korea, etc. Our GDP was per capita was higher than them. Now see how they've overtaken us and transformed their economy. So as you read Lee Kuan Yew's books on transforming Singapore, that's one of the areas that I have seen with my eyes. So why not? Let's embrace it. The only thing is that, sometimes there's sloganeering. That's why now I'm just so cautious. Because once again, Plato will tell us that, Charlie, the politicians, there's no honest one amongst them. Don't worry. That's why you're a lawyer as well. But Plato will say there's no honest politician. So though it sounds like laudable, I'm like, okay, he's here to come out with the final details, right? So let him come out with the details, benchmark them, year 1, year 2, year 3, so that at every point in time we can pinpoint that, we are year 1, where have you reached, blah, 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 all that. Because we definitely must make progress. We are being too slow. So for me, anything that would kind of give us a quantum leap, that would kind of more or less jumpstart this economy. Because now we are in a deep crater, right? And by some accounts, they say it may take us a decade to come out of this Akufo-Addo-Bawumia misgovernance. This Akufo-Addo-Bawumia misgovernance may take us a decade to get out of. So for Mahama to promise something that kind of, in this case, give a quantum leap, a kind of jump start, it sounds exciting, but I'm a bit wary, I'm a bit careful because of what we've experienced in the past, 2016, when Bawumia was all over the place. We'll change this economy in 18 months. We'll change this economy in 18 months. And yet, by the time COVID hit, he had more than 36, and yet they hadn't transformed the economy from the Gadgetsburg economy that it is. You see, so that's where we're looking at.
Right.
And let me, final comment. As Mr. Mahama is promising 24-hour economy, I think he should come back again on the matter of corruption. Yeah, he should come back because that's a real problem. What are we see really going to do different? That one first.
I think
corruption and constitutional.
No, Council. You see, things are playing out because this is the 24-hour economy is a focus. What he has said.
Yes.
I think when he makes a statement on how he's going to fight corruption, that would answer your question, is it not?
Yeah.
Yes. So I just wanted us to have a structured conversation
No,
so that
let
we
me
don't.
add this.
I'm mindful of the
Yes,
time.
I know. Just
Council,
one point.
I am mindful of the time.
If you had allowed me, I would have said it.
Let me go
the
to
24-hour economy is also a source of accountability. There are people who sit in offices and do things. When they close,
you do this, I'll deduct
very
from
well.
your.
Very well. But it's a source of accountability. Yes.
The love for Mr. Mahama by my senior is so manifest. When Mr. Mahama promises 24-hour economy, he will not recount to his audience the things he had said that he was unable to do. He said, oh, yeah, it's a good thing. I've seen it in Singapore. But to the main point, I'm a bit slow in dismissing entirely a policy proposal, guided by the experience of the NDC's approach to free SHS. All right? So I cannot say confidently that it is not something that cannot be done. But I can raise very critical questions so that the proponents of the policy would provide clarity. The first question is whether it is a novel situation in Ghana. It is not. It is not because critical public service providers are already running on a 24-hour shift system. All right? Within the private sector, steel manufacturers and other manufacturing companies are doing that in order to be able to meet the demands of their customers. And so in that regard, one cannot say that this idea is entirely new. It is already happening.
And that's why Professor Jampo made the point that it shouldn't be the exception to be the measurement. It should be a rule policy-driven.
And that's why I said that phrase is inapplicable to this proposal, because there's no such rule for us to even be talking about exceptions. All right, I'm just saying that it is not a novel idea. Critical public service providers are already running a 24-hour system on shift basis. You take our hospitals, doctors and nurses go in the morning, close at 12, another set comes, close at 8, another set comes, run throughout the night. The security services 24/7 are constantly providing security throughout the length and breadth of our country.
So the thought of
in the private sector,
expanding this to bring in others.
I was dead silent throughout.
I'm asking the questions. Yes.
All right. So, and like I said, within the private sector, there are lots and lots of manufacturing companies that are already running a 24-hour shift system, because they have clients' needs that they have to meet. And then they pay overtime bonuses to deserving staff. So it is something that is happening. Now, he says that it would lead to new jobs. And in my brother's submission, you know, he was emphasizing on existing jobs, which clearly confirms his misunderstanding of the policy.
No, I never said so.
Oh, no, you said there are judges on payroll, because he has a question of wage bill.
Yes.
And your answer is that these people are already on payroll.
Don't take this out of context. Because that was in respect of judiciary.
Now you're providing clarity. Let me move on.
I provided the clarity.
So the
Listen to me in context.
of wage bill has to be answered, all right? That you're going to bring in new set of workers into some public sector agencies to run a shift system. Okay. Are these agencies income generating agencies such that the incomes are capable of dealing with their salaries and allowances that we will not have to burden the public purse with debt?
Of course.
That clarity has not been provided. More importantly, is the policy going to be rolled out throughout the country, or is it Greater Accra policy? Because you and I would agree that in vast parts of our country, there's essentially no economy. Prof,
what?
You agree? Oh, yes.
What?
Yes, a vast part of our country, there's really...
What is your understanding of economy?
But, so, for example, if you take... I'm coming. If you take my constituency, for example.
There's no economy in your constituency.
I'm not saying that there's no economy. You're not getting the point.
That's why I want to understand what you mean by there's no economy outside of Accra.
Private businesses running 24/7, like the manufacturing. In other places, the economy is farming.
So it's not part of the economy?
Are you going to ensure that all farmers, in the absence of any incentive, because the policy has not indicated any incentive for people who want to take advantage of that, that people should farm 24 hours in rural Ghana? So that's why I said that they must go on to provide clarity. And in his earlier submission, when we were discussing Dr. Baume, he made the point about trust. The candidate who is promising us today that he's going to run a 24-hour economy is not new. He has been president for more than 4 years. He made similar promises in 2012, and he was voted by the Ghanaian people. And every single economic promise he made to the Ghanaian people, he failed. Every single one of them, and we can take them one by one. Every single one of them that he made, and you can refer to their 2012 manifesto, which was titled Advancing the Better Ghana. Every single one of them, he failed.
Can you name them?
For example, he said that for 4 years, he was going to ensure that our annual GDP growth rate is 8% for 4 years. For 4 years, he never met it.
How many did he meet?
Not even once.
It was complete zero.
It was
when we got the highest in the world, which year was that?
That was in 2011. That
So
was
your
under
verdict-
Mills in 2011.
You
So
see?
for 4 years.
he wasn't Mills' deputy.
Oh, come on. I was specific in my choice of words. I said when he made promises on the economy to us in 2012, and the Ghanaian people voted for him, for 4 years, he missed every single economic promise that he made to the people of Ghana. So if such a candidate comes back to promise us a new set of economic aspirations, I would be slow in believing him, especially so when he was presidential candidate and made similar promises and was voted, and he governed for more than 4 years without meeting one of those set of promises.
Take note of this, and this is how we round up on this. The understanding is that this is a headline policy pronouncement.
Yes.
And so the details of it, to be fair, is going to come in the coming days.
Yes.
That's what the understanding I get. So this is a headline policy pronouncement. So the devil is in the detail, let's say, and would also answer all the questions that you post about this particular policy. So we will wait for the details. And that is expected to be captured in your manifesto.
1 minute rebuttal.
Yes.
One, the policy is a day and night economic policy. And this is by deliberate design. So he cannot say that outside of Accra, there's no economy elsewhere. That is about the most unbelievable statement I've heard. The economy refers
He's
to the
questioning your candidate's
Hold on.
credibility to achieve this.
Sorry?
He's questioning your candidate's credibility
But
to achieve
his
this.
understanding of economy itself is a problem for me. How can you say that there's no economy outside of Greater Accra?
You know what I mean.
Really, I don't understand what you mean.
You're just
Exactly
doing
my point.
propaganda.
And I'm saying that this policy is also a source of accountability, because you see, when somebody works from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., he will leave his desk for another to come and take over. Whatever is happening, another person will see. There are offices in this country, they cook things for years, for months. They don't want anybody else to see what's happening. So people, different eyes, different minds, different persons will be running services from a certain office where documents, transactions cannot be hidden from others. So it will be a check on public servants who want to be corrupt, on civil servants who want to be correct.
Servants will check the,
All right,
their fellow public
thank you.
servants.
Of course.
So this,
Of course.
this leads us to the next issue, because you dwelt a lot on the judiciary. President Akufo-Addo has nominated 3 more justices to serve on the Supreme Court to get the numbers up to 15. In fact, it is because of the vacancy created by the 3 justices that have gone on the mandatory retirement. And indeed, the idea is to replace them. But why exactly is this an issue, especially on, Professor Jampo, your tangent about how this tells on the judiciary in its current form? Why?
Well, it's problematic.
Because?
One of the studies, the foremost documentation that called for constitution review was a document called the Democracy Consolidation Strategy Paper. That was a research undertaken by the IEA in collaboration with the Ghana Political Parties Program. Now, this paper audited the gaps in Ghana's democracy and with a view to proposing reforms to our democracy. One of the recommendations that it made was the need for us to review our constitution. And one challenge with the constitution that was identified was the absence of ceiling on the number of judges that can be appointed to sit, as Supreme Court justices.
Put some sort of a capping.
Yes.
Okay.
So, but if you go to the U.S. also, U.S. I think they have there's a ceiling 9 justices. They sit at any time and they bring finality to litigations and dispute. But it appears that yes, we made that recommendation in the Democracy Consolidation Strategy Paper. The Constitution Review Commission took this recommendation and subjected it into nationwide public consultations, and the outcome of the consultation was that yes, we should set a ceiling of or cap the number of justices that can be appointed to the Supreme Court.
And this was based on the
Constitutional Review Commission's recommendation.
It's in the white paper.
Yes, after the DCS had made the recommendation, the Constitutional Review Commission took that recommendation and consulted Ghanaians. And Ghanaians said, we want it. Unfortunately, the Constitution review process has been stalled because we continuously allow ourselves to be plagued with the challenges of policy discontinuities. If NDC initiates, MPP must discontinue. If MPP initiates, NDC must discontinue. In a manner that undermines the instructions given to us by the directive principles of state policy. Because of that, we are not implementing the provisions, or we are stalled the constitutional review process because it was not the MPP that introduced it. Now, I was expecting somebody like President Akufo-Addo to have been guided by at least the provisions of the Constitution Review, the recommendation of the Constitution Review Commission. You know, the last time that President Mahama was heard saying that he was going to balance out the court, we were all worried, okay? But if you don't set a ceiling on the number of justices that can be appointed to serve on the Supreme Court, then to topple the thinking that as a nation, this is not the way to go. We cannot continue to be appointing justices, because, I mean, if we have a case and I'm the government, you are the opposition, it goes against me. What I can do simply will be to appoint other justices to the Supreme Court to go review and to overturn. I think it does not help our quest to promote.
Don't work that way.
Well, it does not help to, please don't talk about the norm. We're talking practicality. It does not help our quest to promote judicial independence, and until we are able to agree on the ceiling of justices that must be appointed to serve on the Supreme Court, we will continue, the Supreme Court itself will continue to suffer that kind of perception that they are always under the influences of the executive arm of government. It is not good for our quest to ensure a proper justice system. It doesn't help.
Martin, people, because of the experience at the bar and having, at least based on the analysis on this table, you are senior counsel. So what are the real threats or challenges that is absence of the capping of the justice to be appointed at the Supreme Court really pose to this structure that we are running, or to our democracy largely?
Okay, yeah, so Mr. Okanse, this matter of the capping, I must say I'm still learning on it, right? As of now, it's not exactly clear to me how and where we are going to peg it. So it's a discussion that perhaps we have to continue
Learn from
having.
other democracies.
Because
others have 9.
yes,
and
so
they sit to bring finality
yeah,
to all these people.
the review. So at that time, we're talking about 13 when Kufuor was in government, right? When Kufuor was there. So the APR review mentioned 13, that historically the number had been 13, blah, blah. But since then, we've gone gone past the 13, right? And it's gone way ahead. So the problem for me is that between capping and independence of the judiciary, I think the independence, how to amend the Constitution to make the nomination process and the judges more independent, is more important to me now than just capping.
But you
because
cannot speak against the will of the people. The will of the people was that it should be capped. This particular proposal was subjected to extensive nationwide public consultation.
Thank you.
And then
no, we should not be seen to be fighting against what the people of Ghana want.
Understand? So, Mr. Council, just add to that. You see, when you mention the U.S. Supreme Court that they are just 9, right? There are so many things that we haven't said. You see, the way the U.S. Supreme Court, the U.S. justice system is structured, there is a state level of court. So in each state, you can go up to the Supreme Court in each state before you come to the federal level. Yeah. So their system is 2 tiers, state and then federal. And from the state, you can come to the U.S. Supreme Court. Some, I mean, complexes. But let me mention this. Each judge, they have top brains to support them. 4.
Right.
4 big top people. Ghana here, our judges are suffering. The clerks that they give them, they are often junior lawyers. I'm not deriding junior, but I'm saying that generally they are younger ones who haven't seen much. You see a 20-something year person at the bar as a clerk to a Supreme Court judge, even a 10-year somebody who's done 10 years at the bar. It's not. They don't have enough resources, the research and all that. So the issue of capping is quite complex. Let's discuss it more. But please, we need the constitution amended to make sure that the presidents usually don't nominate these people. We want to have an independent judicial council. The president should not nominate 4 people onto the judicial council as it is currently in our constitution. The president should not have a say in who gets nominated and appointed as a Supreme Court judge. And the current Chief Justice supports it, at least, by saying that the president should not have a hand in the discipline of judges.
Right.
You see, yes.
So this conversation will definitely keep going. It's not one that would end today. Martin Pebo is private legal practitioner, and yes, we're out of time. And he is also the leader of one of the individual bondholder groups. He is the convener of the demonstration, and on this table, a senior lawyer for that matter. Also, Akbar Yusuf Khomeini is special assistant to the vice president. He's a private legal practitioner as well. And then also Professor Lamfojampo